Think about this for a moment. Imagine navigating through life with this stark realization that pain, struggle, and dissatisfaction are not exceptions, but rather the rule. Why do we chase happiness so relentlessly, yet it slips through our fingers like grains of sand? In this video, we'll delve into one of the most profound and challenging ideas in philosophy, Arthur Schopenhauer's bleak yet brutally honest assessment of life. By the end, you'll understand why his words still resonate today and how they can illuminate your own struggles with clarity and purpose. Stick with me until the end, because the last revelation might change the way you see everything. Arthur Schopenhauer, often called the philosopher of pessimism, believed that life is fundamentally driven by suffering. To him, our existence is dictated by an insatiable will, a force within us that endlessly craves, desires, and demands satisfaction, only to leave us empty and yearning for more. Let's explore why he thought life was this relentless cycle of striving and disappointment, and what lessons we can draw from his seemingly bleak worldview. To understand Schopenhauer, we must first confront a truth many avoid. Life is hard, often unbearably so. Our dreams get crushed, relationships falter, and the promises of happiness that society dangles before us rarely deliver. But why? Why is suffering so deeply ingrained in the human experience? Schopenhauer argued that it's because of the very nature of the world and the force that drives it. He introduced the concept of the will to live, a blind, irrational force at the core of all existence. This will is not a conscious choice, but an unstoppable urge for survival, reproduction, and continuation. It drives every living being, from the smallest insect to the most complex human. But here's the catch. This will is never satisfied. Think about the last time you achieved something you truly wanted, a promotion, a relationship, or even a material possession. Did it bring lasting happiness, or did it quickly fade, replaced by a new desire or a lingering emptiness? Schopenhauer believed this endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction is the essence of life. Consider how often we place our hopes in the future. If I could just get that job, or if I could just find the right partner, we tell ourselves, then I'd be happy. But Schopenhauer would argue that this happiness is an illusion. When we finally achieve our goals, the joy is fleeting, and the cycle begins again. We're caught in a hamster wheel of craving, achieving, and craving once more. Does this resonate with you? Have you ever felt the emptiness after reaching what you thought was your ultimate goal? Share your thoughts, because this is a universal experience Schopenhauer articulated over a century ago, yet it remains painfully relevant. Schopenhauer's philosophy also challenges the notion of progress. In a world obsessed with advancement, where new technologies and conveniences emerge daily, one might think humanity is moving closer to true happiness. Yet, he would argue the opposite. Each new invention, every societal advancement, merely adds new layers to our desires without addressing the root cause of our dissatisfaction, the insatiable will. His view might feel overwhelming, even depressing, but let's pause for a moment. Why does this understanding matter? What can we learn from a philosopher who tells us that life is essentially suffering? Here's where things get interesting. Schopenhauer wasn't just a messenger of doom, he also offered pathways to navigate this reality. He believed that while we can't escape the will entirely, we can mitigate its power over us. He saw art, music, and philosophy as means to transcend our suffering, even temporarily. Through these, we can step outside ourselves, lose our constant cravings, and connect with something greater than our individual struggles. Think about the times you felt completely absorbed in a piece of music, a painting, or a profound idea. For a brief moment, the endless noise of desire and dissatisfaction fades away. Schopenhauer saw these moments as glimpses into a more profound truth, a way to rise above the misery of life, even if only for a while. But art and philosophy are just one part of the equation. Schopenhauer also advocated for compassion and empathy as tools to navigate a world filled with suffering. When we recognize the universal nature of pain, that every person we meet is grappling with their own battles, we can begin to break free from the self-centered will that binds us. This idea, though rooted in pessimism, carries an important lesson. Suffering connects us all. It's a shared human experience, and through understanding and compassion, we can alleviate not only our pain but also the pain of others. So, what do you think? Does Schopenhauer's view of life resonate with your experiences? Is there value in accepting the inherent suffering of existence? Or do you believe there's another way to find meaning? Let me know your thoughts, because this conversation is far from over. Now that we've uncovered the foundation of Schopenhauer's philosophy, we'll explore even deeper in the next segment. We'll look at how his ideas intersect with modern psychology and why understanding the will to live is more relevant now than ever before. Before we dive further, let's consider a question. If life is inherently tied to suffering, as Schopenhauer suggested, does this mean it's entirely devoid of meaning? Or could there be purpose hidden within the struggle itself? This question isn't just philosophical, it's deeply personal. Every day we're bombarded with messages telling us to stay positive or focus on the bright side. Yet how often do these platitudes feel hollow? Schopenhauer didn't sugarcoat reality, and perhaps that's why his philosophy resonates so powerfully. By confronting the truth of life's difficulties, he forces us to ask what we're really striving for. In modern psychology, Schopenhauer's insights find surprising echoes. Take the concept of the hedonic treadmill. This idea suggests that no matter how much our circumstances improve, whether we earn more money, achieve a long-sought goal, or find the perfect partner, our happiness eventually returns to a baseline. It's as though we're running on a treadmill, chasing fulfillment that always stays just out of reach. Sound familiar? Schopenhauer anticipated this phenomenon long before psychologists named it. He argued that the very structure of human desire ensures we'll always be slightly dissatisfied. Even in moments of happiness, there's often a nagging sense of what's next, but why does this happen? Schopenhauer believed it was because of the will's insatiable nature. Our desires aren't rational, they're primal and relentless. And while society teaches us to see this as motivation, something to drive progress and achievement, Schopenhauer would argue it's the root of our discontent. Think about the stories we celebrate in modern culture. They're often tales of overcoming adversity, reaching the pinnacle of success, or achieving the perfect life. Yet, when we examine the lives of those who seem to have it all, we often find the same struggles beneath the surface. How many celebrities, billionaires, or thought leaders have confessed to feeling empty despite their success? This isn't just anecdotal. Studies show that after a certain point, increases in wealth, status, or achievement have diminishing returns on happiness. Schopenhauer would say this is because external achievements can't address the deeper problem, the unquenchable will within us. So what can we do? If the will drives us to endless striving and dissatisfaction, is there any way to escape its grip? Schopenhauer believed that while we can't fully eliminate the will, we can learn to manage it. One way, he suggested, is through what he called denial of the will. This doesn't mean rejecting life entirely, but rather stepping back from our constant cravings. Meditation, mindfulness, and Stoic practices reflect similar ideas, encouraging us to detach from desires and find peace in the present moment. Let's pause here for reflection. When was the last time you truly felt at peace? Not because you achieved something, but simply because you allowed yourself to be. Those moments are rare but powerful, aren't they? Schopenhauer also saw value in confronting suffering head-on. Instead of avoiding pain or numbing ourselves to it, he encouraged us to accept it as an inherent part of life. In this, he aligned with Buddhist teachings, which also emphasized that suffering is universal and inevitable. Yet through awareness and compassion, we can transcend it. This brings us to another profound aspect of Schopenhauer's philosophy, the role of art and beauty. He believed that when we engage with art, whether through music, literature, or visual expression, we temporarily escape the demands of the will. In those moments, we experience life not as a series of cravings, but as something pure, timeless, and deeply human. Think about a song that moves you to tears, or a painting that takes your breath away. Why do these experiences feel so transformative? Schopenhauer would argue it's because they allow us to step outside ourselves, to see the world without the filters of desire and fear. For a brief moment, we touch something greater than our individual struggles. But art isn't the only path to transcendence. Schopenhauer also saw potential in compassion and selflessness. When we recognize that others are suffering just as we are, we create a bridge between our isolated struggles and the shared human experience. This realization doesn't eliminate pain, but it can transform it into something meaningful. Imagine the impact of viewing life not as a solitary journey, but as a collective endeavor. When we extend kindness to others, we're not just helping them, We're breaking free from the self-centered will that keeps us trapped in dissatisfaction. So, what do you think? Is it possible to find meaning in a world defined by suffering? Can art, mindfulness, and compassion truly help us transcend the cycle of craving and despair? Share your thoughts, because this conversation is richer when we engage with it together. In the next segment, we'll explore the surprising ways Schopenhauer's philosophy intersects with modern ideas about resilience and meaning. You might be surprised to discover how his teachings can help us navigate today's challenges, from the pressures of social media to the pursuit of happiness in a chaotic world. Let's revisit Schopenhauer's central idea. Life is driven by the will, an endless force of desire that leads to suffering. Yet even in his bleak perspective, we find seeds of hope and practical wisdom. What if understanding this inherent struggle is the key to resilience and personal growth in a modern world? Think about the pressures of today. Social media floods us with carefully curated snapshots of success and happiness, making us feel as though we're constantly falling short. We chase likes, followers, and approval, believing they'll bring fulfillment, only to discover they leave us feeling emptier than before. Schopenhauer's philosophy speaks directly to this phenomenon. He reminds us that the will to live, the constant drive for more, is not just a personal struggle but a universal condition. Consider how he might interpret the modern obsession with self-improvement. On the surface, it seems noble, striving to be better versions of ourselves. But beneath that, isn't there often a sense of inadequacy, a belief that we're not enough as we are? Schopenhauer would caution us to examine whether our pursuit of growth is genuinely enriching or simply another way the will keeps us in its grasp. This raises an important question. How can we pursue meaning and happiness without becoming slaves to endless desire? Schopenhauer's answer lies in cultivating awareness and learning to distinguish between fleeting pleasures and deeper, lasting contentment. One way to achieve this is by shifting our focus from external achievements to internal growth. Instead of asking, what can I get?" we might ask, "What can I give?" This aligns with Schopenhauer's belief in compassion as a path to transcendence. When we step outside our own desires and focus on the well-being of others, we create connections that bring genuine meaning to our lives. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that acts of kindness and generosity increase feelings of happiness and reduce stress. When we contribute to something larger than ourselves, we find a sense of purpose that material success alone cannot provide. Schopenhauer's insights remind us that fulfillment often comes not from satisfying our own cravings, but from easing the suffering of others. This shift in perspective also helps us navigate setbacks and failures. Schopenhauer argued that suffering is inevitable, but how we respond to it shapes our experience of life. By accepting pain as a natural part of existence, we free ourselves from the illusion that life should always be easy or joyful. Instead, we can find strength in resilience and growth in adversity. Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge. Maybe it was a loss, a failure, or a moment of deep uncertainty. At the time, it might have felt overwhelming, but looking back, did it teach you something valuable? Perhaps it deepened your empathy, clarified your priorities, or made you more aware of your own strength. Schopenhauer's philosophy invites us to embrace these moments as opportunities for growth. While we can't avoid suffering, we can transform it into a source of wisdom and meaning. This idea echoes the words of Viktor Frankl, a psychologist and Holocaust survivor, who wrote that suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds meaning. Frankl's work aligns beautifully with Schopenhauer's, showing us that even in the darkest times, we can find purpose by shifting our focus from what we lack to what we can contribute. Whether through creativity, compassion, or resilience, we can rise above the endless demands of the will and create a life of deeper significance. But let's not stop here. Schopenhauer also believed in the transformative power of art and philosophy. In his view, these pursuits allow us to transcend the mundane and glimpse a higher truth. When we immerse ourselves in beauty or profound ideas, we step outside the relentless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. Think about how a great book, a breathtaking landscape, or a haunting piece of music can make you feel. In those moments, the boundaries of the self seem to dissolve, and we connect with something timeless and universal. Schopenhauer saw these experiences as a way to momentarily escape the will and touch the essence of existence. This is why cultivating an appreciation for art, literature, and philosophy is so important. It's not just about entertainment or intellectual curiosity. It's about finding moments of stillness and clarity in a chaotic world. These moments remind us that life, despite its struggles, also contains profound beauty and meaning. As we reflect on Schopenhauer's ideas, one question remains: how can we apply these insights to our daily lives? After all, understanding philosophy is one thing. Living it is another. In the final part of this video, we'll explore practical steps you can take to navigate life's challenges, find purpose in the face of suffering, and cultivate a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. Stay with me, because what comes next could change how you approach not only your own struggles, but also the way you connect with the world around you. As we arrive at the heart of Schopenhauer's philosophy, let's focus on applying his insights to our lives. How can we embrace his ideas in a way that brings clarity, resilience, and even hope, despite his deeply pessimistic view of existence? The first step is acceptance. Schopenhauer believed that much of our suffering stems from resistance, our refusal to accept the inherent difficulties of life. Think about how often we tell ourselves, "This isn't fair," or "Things shouldn't be this way." While these thoughts are natural, they also trap us in a cycle of frustration and denial. Instead, what if we could face life with radical honesty? What if we accepted that suffering is not an anomaly, but a fundamental part of existence? This doesn't mean giving up or becoming apathetic. On the contrary, acceptance allows us to shift our focus from fighting reality to understanding it. In practical terms, this might look like practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, to sit with discomfort instead of trying to escape it. When we do this, we begin to see that pain, while inevitable, is also transient. It comes and goes like waves on the shore. Another way to apply Schopenhauer's philosophy is by rethinking our relationship with desire. He warned that the will, our endless craving for more, is the source of much of our unhappiness. But how do we navigate this in a world that constantly encourages us to want more, achieve more, and be more? One approach is to practice gratitude. While Schopenhauer himself didn't emphasize this, his ideas align with modern research, showing that gratitude can help us break free from the cycle of dissatisfaction. By focusing on what we already have, rather than what we lack, we can shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. Take a moment right now to reflect on something you're grateful for. It could be a small joy, like a warm cup of coffee, or something more profound, like the support of a loved one. Notice how this simple act of gratitude changes your mindset. Schopenhauer also saw value in simplifying life. He believed that by reducing our attachment to material possessions and superficial achievements, we could focus on what truly matters. In today's world, this might mean stepping back from the constant noise of social media, resisting the urge to compare ourselves to others, and finding contentment in the present moment. This brings us to one of the most profound lessons in Schopenhauer's philosophy: the power of compassion. While he saw life as inherently painful, he also recognized that suffering connects us all. When we acknowledge this shared human experience, we can cultivate empathy and kindness, both for ourselves and for others. Compassion starts with small acts: a kind word to a stranger, a gesture of support to a friend, or even forgiving ourselves for our own mistakes. These actions may seem insignificant, but they create ripples that can transform not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. And then there's the transformative power of art and beauty. Schopenhauer believed that immersing ourselves in art allows us to escape the relentless demands of the will. So make space in your life for moments of inspiration. Listen to music that moves you, explore literature that challenges you, or simply spend time in nature, observing its quiet, timeless rhythms. In these moments, we can transcend the chaos of everyday life and connect with something greater, a reminder that even amidst suffering there is beauty, meaning, and hope. Finally, let's talk about purpose. If life is filled with struggle, as Schopenhauer argued, how do we find meaning in it? The answer lies not in avoiding pain, but in embracing it as a catalyst for growth. As Viktor Frankl said, what matters is not the suffering itself, but the way in which we respond to it. Schopenhauer's philosophy teaches us that meaning is not handed to us, it's something we create. Whether through acts of kindness, the pursuit of art, or the simple courage to face each day, we have the power to transform our suffering into something profound. So, here's the final question for you. What will you do with the insights we've explored today? Will you let them inspire you to see life in a new way, to find purpose in the struggle, and to connect more deeply with others? Or will you resist them, clinging to the illusions that only deepen dissatisfaction? The choice is yours. As we close this journey through Schopenhauer's philosophy, remember this. Life is difficult, yes. It's full of challenges, disappointments, and unfulfilled desires. But within that difficulty lies the potential for growth, understanding, and even transcendence. By facing life with honesty, compassion, and courage, we can rise above the suffering and discover what it truly means to be human. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated with you most? What challenges you? I look forward to hearing your perspectives as we continue this journey together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for looking.